In a world full of constant and inescapable horrors, amidst the blazing wildfires, a deadly global pandemic, and widespread corruption, people have begun to lash out violently across the entire planet. They riot in the streets as they lose faith in their impossibly greedy landlords, CEOs, politicians, law enforcement, justice systems, and entire governments as their society crumbles all around them. And only one event is to blame for all this widespread dystopian pandemonium. The Japanese video game giant Nintendo has shut down their 3DS and Wii U eShops, abandoning their long-standing customers as well as their historic and unique libraries that can no longer be officially downloaded nor played in any way, much less properly preserved on official hardware ever again. This world has lost all hope in video game preservation, as their greatest champion has been sentenced to a fate worse than death. Our corporate overlords have condemned humanity's final hope of salvation, choosing short-term profit over the preservation of art and history at the expense of our one Lord and Savior, our King of Kings, our one squishy boy.
So you can't play Pushmo anymore.
He's gone because Nintendo killed him.
Pushmo was one of my final frantic purchases on the 3DS eShop before the greedy corporate giant pulled the plug on the entire system, and unfortunately the game was so good, I'm now cursed with the knowledge that I'm one of the last people to ever get to play it. Well, legitimately that is. What kind of monsters would shut down an online store hosting thousands of games unique to that 3D dual-screen touch-sensitive system with no alternative or plan to either preserve or release any of that lost software? Well, since Nintendo clearly doesn't want to take your money and considers the entire 3DS library obsolete, there's no longer any moral dilemma with installing custom firmware on your 3DS, downloading CIA files from a safe preservation website like the Internet Archive, and installing them directly on your system via the Homebrew FBI app. Let the record show that I did pay for Pushmo. Let the record show that it's very easy to hack your 3DS. When possible, I will pay for playing retro games, even if Square Enix wants to charge an arm and a leg for their Final Fantasy Pixel remasters. But Nintendo just effectively threw over a decade of unique gaming history in the garbage, so there's nothing wrong with being a digital dumpster diver. Yo-ho, me hearties! Anyway, with that out of the way, Pushmo rules! Yeah, this might just be the best puzzle game I've ever played. In Pushmo, you push and pull blocks, which is actually the European name of the game, by the way, pull blocks. How are you already off track about a puzzle game? Sorry, anyway, you can push and pull large colored blocks in up to 3 spaces out from a large, flat, freestanding surface called a Pushmo. What, you thought this little guy's name was Pushmo? I bet you thought Zelda's gonna go rescue the princess and Metroid's gonna go shoot some aliens too. Nah, this little squish ball is Mallow. So Mallow's goal is to reach the trapped child at the top of the Pushmo by cleverly pushing and pulling the blocks in a way that allows him to ascend the increasingly complex structures. He can only jump 1 block up at a time, or across short gaps, and also can't move any block that he's currently standing on, but you can rewind your actions a bit to undo any recent mistakes. And that's it. That's the whole game. And it's brilliant. This game is so simple to pick up and play, but also super creative with its level design that makes each new stage super interesting. You'll eventually get colored ladders and warp pipes and colored arrows that'll pull out all blocks of that color to the max, and this is only increasing the complexity of the puzzles, making the gameplay that much more engaging. And once you beat the main campaign, you'll unlock new Nintendo-themed levels where you play on NES sprites repurposed into Pushmo levels. Now, those sprites were never intended for that, so some of them are a little more maddening than others, but it's still really cool! Except I've beaten over 20 of them and I still haven't seen a single Metroid one yet. There is one, you're just not that far yet. But it does suck when you spend like 10 minutes on a stage and realize after it's too late that you needed to move a block like ages ago in order to win, forcing you to reset the entire puzzle and do it all over again, where you completely forgot how you even managed to get that far to begin with. This game makes me feel like an empowered genius when I solve some of its crazy puzzles, but also like a complete imbecile as I seek out a step-by-step guide for stages that stupefy me for like half an hour. Pushmo looks pretty great for being so simple. It actually makes me wish we got this game back on the N64 or Super Nintendo just to see how this same idea could have been done back then. Though not quite as intensely bizarre as something like Katamari Damacy, Pushmo's got this really unsettling cutesy aesthetic just to disturb you a little as you fight to make a chubby sumo wrestler climb the world's most inefficient staircase. The game's also developed by Nintendo's own development studio Intelligent Systems, who are well known for making great games ever since the NES like Fire Emblem, Metroid, WarioWare, Advance Wars, and Paper Mario. So these people do know their stuff. They basically make Nintendo series that tend to get forgotten. And here we are talking about Pushmo. We can skip this segment, right? What, are you concerned about spoilers? Of course not, there's just nothing to say about it. So Mallow is heading to Pushmo Park when the local unvaccinated brat stomps on a reset button, trapping children all inside of these physics-defying Pushmo walls. And since the only other bystander is a prehistoric geezer, Mallow begins to save the trapped children one by one, chasing the troublesome twerp all around the park until he finally saves all of the kids and confronts the jerk. But it turns out the little Tide Pod muncher was trapping the other children because he was lonely and didn't have any friends. So everybody forgives him and they all skip along home happily as the credits roll. You know, I was mistaken, that was worth telling. Yeah? Even for a puzzle game, that was pitiful. It's fine, though I do really love the 8-bit mixing with the modern themes. You work so hard saving each kid from their trans-dimensional displacement that the success jingle becomes the most satisfying part of the game. Also, the Nintendo murals play a retro version of the main puzzle theme, and that's pretty cool. How do we sell a game you can't even buy? Here's a friendly reminder that it's very easy to hack your 3DS. Oh no. Hey, Nintendo abandoned ship, so climb aboard and loot that sweet booty. If you're gonna be a pirate, this is some pretty optimal booty. Yo-ho, a pirate's life for me! I bought this game! The positive gamer in me rates Pushmo an outstanding 10 out of 10. This is the best puzzle game I have ever played, and I highly recommend you give it a whirl. You can even check out its sequels Crashmo and Stretchmo if you find yourself needing Mo. That was terrible. I am so sorry. The critical gamer in me gives Pushmo a strong 9 out of 10. I'd call it great value for your money if the bilge-sucking company responsible were even willing to accept it anymore. Just because they don't care about their own library doesn't mean that we shouldn't. So batten down the hatches, raise that Jolly Roger to play and preserve these games yourself and keep them from becoming forgotten. Because dead men tell no tales. But what do you think? Tell us how your positive and critical sides rate Pushmo in the comments below. We've been marooned from the incredible 3DS library with no choice but to emulate or hack our way into playing its digital exclusive software like Pushmo. Because if you don't see these games as worth preserving, then you're just playing with yourself. Oh yeah, the Wii U eShop went down too. Whatever. Thanks for watching, remember to like and subscribe for more, and use the links in the description to nominate your own episode. And thank you to all of our Patreon members, Aspen, Arrow, Sid, Genio, and Laura. Booyah.